Hey everybody, what's good? What's good? I said, what's good? I am your host and my name is Professor Khalil Amani, and this is Khalil Amani's World 100. We're talking Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is part 2. Sodom and Gomorrah. We're going to get into it, y'all. It's going to be a long series, but we're going to get into it. I gave my introduction on my last video, and now we are going to get into it. I know, a lot of you all think you know about Sodom and Gomorrah. A lot of you all think you know about what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. A lot of you all think that Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction came about as the result of their homosexual activities. I know. I believed that for 30 some years. I get it. The average Christian would tell you that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because God doesn't like homosexuality.
Hi, I'm Bert.
Yeah.
Small business insurance expert with Fiverr.
That's what they say. The average Hebrew Israelite will say the same thing. God doesn't like homosexuals or the act of homosexuality. And Sodom and Gomorrah's destruction is proof positive that he don't like those F-bombs. You know what the F-bomb is, right? The word they call gay people. Some of us call gay people the F-bomb, and we don't even know what the F-bomb is. What am I talking about? The sexual slang that we call gay people, the word is faggot. But did you know that faggot is a real word that we have bastardized? A faggot is a bundle of sticks that are on fire. See, back in the old days when they wanted to start a campfire, they would say, let's get a faggot. And the people knew that a faggot was a bundle of sticks that they would set on fire. But most of the people today who use the word faggot, they don't know its proper origin. They don't know the etymology of the word faggot. They don't know that faggot is a normal word in the English dictionary, and that a faggot has to do with a bundle of burning sticks. Let's go look it up. I didn't even plan to start off this way. Let's find my dictionary. Let's start out right there with the sexual language we use to disrespect gay people. Let's look it up in the American Heritage Dictionary. We do sources here, we show and prove. So that the next time you feel like you want to call somebody the F-bomb, maybe you'll stop and think about what the F-bomb really means. Okay, let's see if we can find anything in this dictionary. This is all off the dome. I didn't even plan to start this way. Okay. There's a slang. Okay, here it goes. The word that we call gays comes from, we are reading from the American Heritage Dictionary, 2nd College Edition. And we read right here that faggot is a bundle of twigs, sticks, or branches bound together. A bundle of pieces of iron or steel to be welded or hammered into bars. To collect or bind into a fagot. Bundle. To decorate with fagoting. See? Fagoting. A method of decorating cloth by putting out horizontal threads and tying the remaining vertical threads into hourglass-shaped bunches. A method of joining hemmed hedges and crisscrossing threads over an opening seam. So faggot or faggoting has its own definition. Now the faggot that you all are talking about, slang, a male homosexual. See? A fag is also a cigarette. That's right. A fag is a cigarette. A fag is also fatiguing or tedious work, drudgery. See? A student at a public school who is required to perform mental tasks. 1 second. A fag is also a student at a public school who is required to perform menial tasks for a student in a higher class. To work to exhaustion, toil. Yeah. Fag, slang, a cigarette. A cigarette is called a fag. The reason why a cigarette is called a fag, because it has to do with the burning. And we know that the burning, the fagot, is a bundle of twigs, sticks, or branches bound together. A bundle of pieces of iron, also steel, to be wedged together. So there you go. The next time you decide you want to use some slang, at least know the origin and derivation of the word. At least know where it comes from. Know the root word and derivation. And so now we know that a fag became bastardized to mean a homosexual person. A faggot became bastardized to mean a homosexual person. But we know that the original meaning of a fag is a bundle of sticks that they burn. Or fag is also a cigarette. You smoke on a fag. We also know that fag is a student at a university that caters to other students. He's like a gopher. He's like a do-boy. He's like an assistant, a TA, a teacher's assistant. That's a fag. You didn't know that, did you? All right. I didn't plan to go on that, but sometimes you go off the dome. You take you where the Spirit tells you to go. But on part 2, we're going to start from the beginning and talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Let me ask you a question real quick. Let me ask you a question to kick off this series. If I had a direct connection to God Almighty, and let's say that God told me he was going to destroy San Francisco, you know, known for its gaieties, known for its homosexual lifestyles, known as a city of the LGBTQ. San Francisco, some will now say Atlanta's number 2 for, gay folks. But let's just say that God Almighty was talking to me, and he warned me that he was going to destroy San Francisco because they were gay. And I said, oh my, God, why would you do such a thing? What if you destroy San Francisco, and while you're destroying San Francisco, you murder and destroy some good people? What if there are like 50 good people in all of San Francisco? You're going to destroy the righteous with the so-called wicked homosexuals? Is that what you're going to do, God? That's not very godly. And then God told me, well, I tell you what. If you can find 50 good people in San Francisco, I'll spare the city. And then I said to God, well, what if there's only 40 good people in San Francisco? And God said, well, if you can find 40 good people in San Francisco, I'll spare San Francisco. Well, what if there's only 30 good people in San Francisco? Would you still murder the innocent 30 people with those wicked San Francisco folks? And God tells me, I'll spare the city of San Francisco if you find 30 good people. Now, you know, I shot back at God. I said, God, what if there are only 20 good people in San Francisco? Would you murder them along with the sinners of San Francisco? And God says to me, if you can find 20 good people in San Francisco, I'll spare the city. But that wasn't good enough for me. Oh, no. I says to God, what if there's only 10 decent, non-sinning people in San Francisco? Would you destroy, would you murder, would you kill those 10 people along with the rest of the citizens of San Francisco? Would you destroy and kill those 10 innocent people just for living there? You know what God told me? God says if you can find 10 good people in San Francisco, I'll spare the city. I'll spare the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Imagine that. But what would you out there who think that the gays and homosexuality is a bad lifestyle, what would you consider me for going to bat for the city of San Francisco? What would you consider me? What would you consider me? That I was so involved in trying to save this city, even though I know good and full well that it's full of homosexuals. Full of homosexuals. What would you think of me? That Khalil, I think he might have some sugar in his blood. That Khalil, he might be down low. That Khalil, why is he so invested in saving San Francisco? That Khalil, excuse my French, is a faggot lover.
All right, this feels almost illegal,
Yeah.
you know, but our windows were so old.
I'm gonna have to leave you all alone because y'all should no commercial. Now you got commercials everywhere. Would you side-eye Khalil Amani for trying to save San Francisco? In today's time, I think you would. You would say all manner of evil about Khalil Amani trying to save gay San Francisco. You'd side-eye me. You'd ask, why am I going so hard? Pause. Why are you going so hard for San Francisco? You know they are notoriously homosexuals. Why are you worried about a few people that might not be, homosexual? They might be okay. Sometimes the innocent are slaughtered. They call that in war, they call that casualties of war. They call that collateral damage. Sometimes innocent babies and children are murdered during war, but the bigger premise, the bigger picture is that we have to destroy this nation. Like Germany, we have to destroy Germany because Germany is trying to destroy the world. And in destroying Germany, we might have to kill a few innocent babies and innocent children. But we have put down the evil German Empire. Same thing America did with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Sneak attack killed a lot of American soldiers, and America responded and answered back swiftly with the atomic bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and murdered 195,000 Japanese, most of them civilians, newborns, infants, babies, toddlers, elementary school children, junior high and high school children. We dropped the bomb and we just said, okay, we know that the children are innocent, but the bigger picture is the Japanese declared war on America, and we answered swiftly, and we put that puppy to bed in a minute. We didn't care about the casualties of war. We didn't care about collateral damage when we dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We ended that war before it could be a war. So why is Abraham, or why would Khalil be worried about 50 righteous people in San Francisco? And God says, I'm going to rain fire and brimstone. I'm going to wipe out San Francisco, and we're going to end all of that so-called faggotry. We're going to end that homosexuality. Even though there might be some non-homosexuals, they may have to be collateral damage, but we're going to end this. But look at Khalil Amani asking the question, what if there's 50 good people there? What if there's 40 good people? What if there's 30, 20, or even 10 people that are not gay, not homosexual? God, are you going to destroy the beautiful, good people with the wicked? And that takes us to our lesson. Abraham. This story that I just told you about, that's in the Bible. But it's not Khalil that's in the Bible. It's Abraham in the Bible who's trying to fight for the citizenry, not of San Francisco, but of Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham is taking God to task for murdering innocent people along with the wicked. We're going to read the story, and then we're going to get back. We're going to give some commentary. But it looks like, if you believe that Sodom and Gomorrah were strictly homosexual cities, why is Abraham going so hard, pause, for the gays? If you believe that Sodom and Gomorrah were gay towns, homosexual cities, why is the father of the three great Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, why is he going so hard to save these so-called gay cities? Now, granted, we know that Abraham has a nephew that lives in Sodom. His name was Lot. But what does that mean? All Abraham had to do was go to Sodom, snatch up his nephew and his nephew's wife and children, and get him up out of there. But that's not the point. And that's not the case. The case is the Bible recounts a story where Abraham is fighting for the lives of these so-called gay cities known as Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what you all think. I don't think that Sodom and Gomorrah were strictly gay cities. But for the regular average Christian mind, the average Hebrew Israelite, they look at Sodom and Gomorrah as being cities that were being overrun with homosexuality. And if that be the case, why is Abraham so bound and determined to save these cities from their ultimate destruction? Is it possible? Is it possible that Abraham was an LGBTQ advocate and ally? Evidently, by the rationale of most Christians and most Hebrew Israelites, we would have to say that Abraham was an ally of the LGBTQ community circa 1700 BCE. Why else would he be so determined to save the cities that most of you all say were gay cities and homosexual cities? And if it's true that Sodom and Gomorrah were gay and homosexual cities, that would make Abraham no more than an ally of the LGBTQ community of that time. Now let's just read the story, because some of you have never seen this. Let's read the story. It's even titled, the story is found in Genesis, the 18th chapter. The story is called The Doom of Sodom. See, the doom of Sodom. Let's read it. And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. See, here it is right here. The title, Abraham intercedes for Sodom. We could rewrite that. It says Abraham is an ally of Sodom. Abraham sticks up for the LGBTQ Sodomites. Abraham is a friend of gays, lesbians, transgenders, and bisexuals. We can say any number of these things if you believe that Sodom was a homosexual city. Here it is, Abraham interceding. You know what intercede means? It means you get between two parties. It means you stand up for a cause. It means you want to be, its protector. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. See, Abraham and God are about to have a conversation. And Abraham drew near and said, he's talking to God, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? That's the question. God, you're going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? You're going to destroy some of the righteous people that live in that city with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? See? Abraham is asking God, if there's 50 righteous people within the city, will you also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay or to kill the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Let's stop right there. Abraham is taking God to task. Abraham is pulling God's whole card. Abraham is verbally chin-checking God about his righteousness. He asked God, you're going to destroy this city? What if there's some righteous people? What if there are 50 good people in Sodom and Gomorrah? You're going to destroy the righteous with the wicked? Go back to what I said earlier. Khalil, San Francisco, and God. Same story. What manner of God are you that you would destroy innocent people just because there are wicked people? Why would you treat innocent people as though they are the wicked? That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Yeah. That the righteous should be as the wicked. That the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee, God. That's far from you. That's below your standards, God. Shall not the judge, you, God, of all the earth, do right? See? Abraham is asking God, are you going to violate? Are you going to be wicked as the people of Sodom? Aren't you the judge of all earth? Shall you do right also? Come on now, God. Come on, God. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. See right there? And that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee, God. Shall not the judge, God of all the earth, God, do right? And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Abraham continues on. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there are 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. So now Abraham says, well, what if there's, forget 50, what if there's only 45? And God says, I will not destroy the cities for the 45 righteous people. And Abraham spoke again unto him, yet again, and said, peradventure, shall there be 40 found there? And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake, meaning God. And Abraham said, and he said unto him, oh, let not the Lord be angry. I will speak. Peradventure there shall be 30 be found there. And God said, I will not do it if I find 30 so-called righteous people. And Abraham said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And God said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. He won't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if they find 20 good people. And Abraham said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure, 10 people shall be found there. And he, God, said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way. As soon as he had left, communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Okay. So there's the story. But what's really going on here? That Abraham, the father of all nations, as we are told, the eponymous ancestor of the Jewish nation, the Christians, and the Muslims. Why is he so invested in advocating for the safety of Sodom and Gomorrah? I mean, after all, many of you say, that Sodom and Gomorrah's sin was homosexuality. That the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were homosexual. And if that be the case, why is Abraham doing backflips and cartwheels to save these alleged homosexual cities? I want you to think about that. Again, we know that Abraham had some relatives in Sodom, namely Lot and his family. Lot was the nephew of Abraham. But Abraham could have easily sent a wire, sent people on horseback, made his way to Sodom, and snatched up Lot out of the fray before the destruction came. Abraham could have easily asked God, can you give me a week? I want to go down and I want to get Sodom out of harm's way. Now here's the thing. Here's something nobody ever thinks about. I've never heard no one ever make this bridge this gap. God says that he would save Sodom and Gomorrah if he could find 50 righteous people. God says he will save Sodom and Gomorrah if he can find 40 righteous people. God says he will save Sodom and Gomorrah if he can find 30 righteous people. God says he will save Sodom and Gomorrah if there's 20 righteous people. God says he will save Sodom and Gomorrah if he can find 10 righteous people in Sodom. So what God was saying, that nobody in Sodom and Gomorrah was righteous. Nobody in the city of Sodom was righteous. Wait a minute. Wait a damn minute. According to God, the guy we call Lot, Abraham's nephew, even he was wicked. I know you never seen that. I know you've never seen that. But God is calling even Abraham's nephew Lot wicked. Ooh. Ooh. Did you hear what I said? Lot was wicked too. Lot was a wicked motherfucker too. Based on the scriptures, Lot was a wicked motherfucker too. Because God insists that there aren't even 10 righteous people in the city of Sodom. And Lot was a member of the city of Sodom. There we have to deduce that even God thought that Lot was a wicked motherfucker. Look at you now. Look at you. Only Khalil Amani can make you see what you've never seen. Look at it. Abraham goes down the list. 50, 45, 40, 30, 20, 10 righteous men, God. And every time Abraham would change the number and make the number smaller, God continually said, I'll save the city if you can find 50, 45, 40, 30, 20. I'll save Sodom and Gomorrah if you can find 10 righteous men. And then we were told that Abraham's first blood nephew lived in Sodom. And if God says there were nobody righteous in Sodom, does that not include Lot? Imagine that. We have to understand that according to God's numbers, not even Lot was a righteous man. We don't know what Lot was doing, but Lot wasn't altogether on the level either. God never said, there's only one righteous man there. Not just Lot. Lot had sons and daughters. None of them motherfuckers was righteous. According to Genesis chapter 18. That there was none righteous in Sodom. None means none. And if none means none, we have to include, not exclude, we have to include Lot, his sons, his daughters, his wife. We got to include everybody. Because between Lot and his wife and his daughters and his sons and sons-in-laws, that's more than 10 people there. That's more than 10 people that lived and resided in the city of Sodom. But God says not even 10 good people will be found to be righteous. You ever heard a Christian preacher preach like this or teach like this? You ever heard a Christian or a Hebrew Israelite preacher put Lot and his family amongst the unrighteous? I don't think you've ever heard that. You've ever heard a Christian preacher, a Hebrew Israelite teacher teach that Lot and his wife and his children, that they were among the unrighteous also? We have to believe that's the case because God says you can't find 50, you can't find 45 people in Sodom, you can't find 40, you can't find 30, you can't find 20, you can't find 10 righteous people in the city of Sodom. But Lot and his family were living in Sodom, so they would be accounted among the citizenry of Sodom, meaning they too were part of the unrighteous. Does that make sense? Because God could have clearly said, Abraham, the only righteous people in Sodom are your family. Oh, your nephew Lot and his wife and his daughters and sons, they righteous. But everybody else is unrighteous. But God doesn't say that. God is convinced that there is none good in Sodom. And we know that Lot was from Sodom, which means he was part of the none good. He was part of the unrighteous. He was part of the evilness and the sinfulness of Sodom. We know this because God said, there is none good, there is none righteous, not even 10 people in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah that are righteous. Isn't that a revelation? Isn't that a revelation? We like to talk about, Lot and the two angels that would come visit Lot. But according to Genesis 18, Lot wasn't no better than the Sodomites. According to Genesis 18, God says none, not even 10 people in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are righteous. Here's another thing. And this is how your so-called Sodom and Gomorrah homosexual city starts to fall apart. This is the proof that Sodom and Gomorrah weren't strictly homosexual cities. Lot. Lot lived in Sodom, and Lot had a whole heterosexual wife. Lot had children. Are you trying to tell me that Lot was the only heterosexual in Sodom? And if you believe that, why do you believe that? Why would a heterosexual man take his wife to a homosexual city and they are the only heterosexual straight people in Sodom? Does that even make sense? Does that even make sense? We know that in the human condition suggests that people live around people that they are similar to and alike. Yes, we have a multicultural society today. You might have a neighborhood with blacks and whites and Hispanics, Latinos, Asians. That's a beautiful thing. But we know that most blacks at some point lived around mostly black people, and most whites lived mostly in white neighborhoods. The human condition tells us that we are more comfortable around people that look like us, act like us, that have the same values and mores and shit like that. But if you believe that homosexuality was the prevalent sexual preference of Sodom and Gomorrah, how do you explain this heterosexual man named Lot who lived in Sodom? You want to tell us that Sodom and Gomorrah were homosexual cities, but then you don't want to explain why a heterosexual father and husband named Lot lived in Sodom. Furthermore, you don't want to explain why Abraham would be an ally to try to save this so-called gay cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. You don't want to explain it. And you definitely never looked at the fact that God said nobody in Sodom and Gomorrah was righteous. Nobody means nobody. And that would mean that this guy Lot, who lived with his wife and children in Sodom, that he too was among the unrighteous. Good Lord. Let's read a little bit more. Let's read a little bit about Lot, in case some of you don't know who the hell I'm talking about. His name was Lot. And so after we read about the 50, the 45, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10 people that cannot be found to be righteous, the next chapter starts. Chapter 19, it says 2 angels visit Lot. See? Lot is the nephew of Abraham. It is Abraham who's trying to convince God to spare Sodom and Gomorrah for the sake of those that might be righteous. But God tells Abraham, nobody in Sodom is righteous. And never once does Abraham say, wait a minute, God, I have a nephew that lives in Sodom and he's a righteous man. I have a nephew that lives in Sodom. He's a good man. I have a heterosexual married nephew that lives in Sodom named Lot. Abraham never name drops his family. Abraham walks away dejected. See, and the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place. Abraham never went to bat for his nephew that he knew lived in this city that God was about to burn down. He never name dropped Lot. He never said that my nephew is righteous. Wait a minute, God. You said you would save the city if we found 10 righteous? Well, I can tell you for a fact, I know that my nephew is a married heterosexual man that lives there, and he's a righteous man. Abraham never even says that about Lot. That was the time when you got down to the 10. When Abraham got down to the 10 and said, peradventure 10 shall be found there. And God said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. That's when Abraham was supposed to say, well, I know a whole family that are righteous. My nephew Lot and his wife and their children, they are good citizens. They are heterosexual. They are great people. Now, there's your 10 or less people. But Abraham doesn't do that. Abraham allows God to tell him that even his nephew and his family is wicked as fuck. That's what you have to read into it. That's what you have to read into it. Abraham allowed God to say that even your nephew is wicked as fuck. I just got to drive that shit home. Because ain't nobody teaching nothing like this. Abraham had a chance to name drop his nephew Lot and say, wait a minute, God. I do know some righteous people that live in Sodom. My dearly beloved nephew, his beautiful wife, and their beautiful children. They are a righteous, good, heterosexual family. I do have a reason why you should not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. My kinsmen, my family, my familia is there. And they're good, decent people, God. Does Abraham make that argument to God? Oh, hell no. Abraham walks away, goes back to where the hell he came from, dejected. Abraham doesn't even think enough of his nephew Lot to name drop him on God. Say, I know some people. My nephew is a good, upstanding citizen. When Abraham got to the 10, peradventure, there are 10 good people. Would you still destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah? And God said, I would not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for the sake of the 10 good people. It was at that moment that Abraham was supposed to insert, name drop his nephew Lot into the story and say, I'm telling you, God, I got good people in Sodom. My nephew Lot, he's a good, kind, and decent man. He's a family man. He's a good father. He's a great husband. He lives by the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments of you, Almighty God, Yahweh. It was at this moment that Abraham was supposed to plead the case for his nephew Lot. But after God says, I will not destroy Sodom and Gomorrah if you can find me 10 good, decent people. Not even Abraham would speak up in support and defense of his own nephew. You never heard nobody tell you that, did you? They don't preach this shit in church. The Hebrew Israelites, the Israelites, they don't see like I see. This is the first time you are hearing the fact that Abraham didn't even stick up or take up for his own goddamn kinsman. And by extrapolation, by deduction, by reasoning, God tells Abraham, not even your motherfucking nephew is good and righteous. Everything doesn't need to be said. You know what's that saying the other day? I can't think of it right now. It's what's understood doesn't need to be explained. There you go. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. What a beautiful ghetto phraseology that is. You know, man, hey, I gotta tell you, hey, what's understood don't need to be explained. What's understood doesn't need to be explained. What's understood with this story here is that God includes Lot and his family in the wickedness of Sodom. That's what should be understood. And I shouldn't have to explain that. But no Christian ever explains that God even sees Lot and his family as wicked. No Israelite teacher tells you that God even sees Lot and his family as wicked. Because if God did not see Lot as wicked, he would say there is a good family in Sodom. His name is Lot and his family. I will save them from Sodom. And even Abraham, when given a chance to vouch for Lot's righteousness, doesn't take the opportunity. He walks away dejected, believing that everybody in Sodom is a wicked mofo. And then we have the story of the two angels visiting Lot. Do the two angels go to Sodom to save Lot? No. Lot just happens to see them on the roadside. Let's read. Lest you think that God sent the two angels to save Lot. He doesn't. God sends the two angels to survey the landscape, to see and report back the so-called wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah. So let's read it. After all that, 50, 45, 40, 30, 20, 10 righteous people that can't be found, we get to chapter 19. Two angels visit Lot. That's almost incorrect. Well, let's read. And there came two angels to Sodom at even. See? It doesn't say there came two angels to visit Lot. It says there came two angels to Sodom at even. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he, Lot, said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry or stay all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they, the two angels, the two men, and they said, Nay, or no, but we will abide in the street all night. Stop there, goddammit. Does this sound like these two men or these two angels were coming to see Lot? I know you never seen it like this. I know. Even the title, what does it say? Two angels visit Lot. No. The two angels did not visit Lot. Lot just happened to be sitting by the gates of the city. And we're going to get into why Lot was sitting at the gate down the road. There's a reason that Lot was sitting at the gate. But when you don't know the full story of what was happening that particular night, oh, there was some shit going on that particular night which made Lot sit at the gate. Meaning at the border of the city. I'm going to teach you all about Sodom as we go along. But notice when Lot saw these two angels coming, he jumped up and ran toward them and fell on his knees and greeted them, my lords. And Lot said, come on with me. Come on back to my crib and stay the night. Wash your feet. Get you some food and water. Let you chill. We can have some Netflix and chill night. If the angels were coming to see Lot, they would have followed Lot home. They would have said, okay, no problem. But what do the angels tell Lot? Nay, no. We will stay in the streets all night. So the question is, what the fuck was going on in the streets all night? It's dark out there. There are no lamps. There are no light posts outside. Something was going on in the streets that night. We're going to get to that down the road. I can't go there yet. See, the Bible is an incomplete narrative. It just throws little morsels of crumbs out there for you. And if you don't think, it just goes over your head. Nobody asks, why did the angels want to stay in the streets all night? If the angels wanted to stay in the streets, in the dark, in the night, in the cool of the night, something was going on that they were trying to observe. But we'll get to that. But their mission was not to go and rescue Lot. Their mission was to observe something that was going on in the streets all night. Do you see that? My God. That's why I'm a teacher. That's why I can't conform to Christianity or to some Israelite movement. Because they miss the ball. They miss it. The two angels that would show up in Lot in the evening time, not the daytime, not the morning. They came when the sun was setting. Why didn't they come when it was daylight? Why didn't they come during breakfast hour, brunch, or lunch? They didn't even come during the dinner hour. Why does it say they came at the evening? At the evening means 7, 8 o'clock when the sun is setting. What was going on in Sodom when the sun went down is the question. What is it that they wanted to observe? Why didn't they want to go home with Lot? Why did they reject his hospitality? Don't worry, we're going to get to the next scripture. Of course, they end up doing that. They ended up going with Lot home. We know that. But I don't want to skip over the point that when the angels, the men first got to Sodom, they had not in mind to go to anybody's house and have dinner and get their feet washed and relax with Netflix and chill. That they had a mission to observe the nightlife of Sodom. And they were going to stay, or as they say, abide in the streets of Sodom all night. I submit to you that there were some activities going on at that very moment that the angels wanted to observe and report back to God. I touched on this when I was on my dear brother Sonetter's channel. I touched on the fact, oh, I don't want to go there just yet. I'm not going to go there just yet. But the fact that the angels did not come to be house guests, the fact that they would tell Lot, no or nay, we will abide, we will stay in the streets all night, it means they were on a reconnaissance mission. It means that they were observing whatever the fuck was going on when the sun went down in Sodom. It means by extrapolation that when the sun went down in Sodom, people didn't just go to bed and go to sleep to get up to go to work. It means that when the sun went down, there was a hustle and bustle of nighttime activities that were going on that had to be observed by these two angels. They call that extrapolation. They call that exegesis. When you can pull out the hidden, the esoteric, the gnosis, to understand by someone saying, no, we will abide in the streets all night. From that statement, understand that there's something going on. If you can't see that, surely these two angels weren't just going to stand in pure darkness up against a mulberry bush and just watch nothing. Surely they were aware of the nighttime activities that went on in Sodom and Gomorrah. Now let's go on. I'm not going to leave nothing out. So this is misleading. To say that two angels visit Lot, that's misleading. That makes you think that the two angels came down there for the express purpose and intent to visit Lot. That's not what happened. It tells you right here. And there came two angels to Sodom. When? In the morning? No. In the afternoon? No. In the evening. In the evening means 7, 8 o'clock, when the sun was setting, when it was getting dark. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. It means, I told you all, oh my God, there's so much going on here. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. Why did Sodom have a gate? We're going to get into all of this as we go along. Why was there a gate? A gate means that there was a barrier around Sodom and Gomorrah. It means there was an entrance to the city. It means that it was guarded. We're gonna get back to this gate stuff. But Lot sat at the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, the two angels, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he, Lot, the nephew of Abraham, said, behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray, I beg you, to come into your servant's Lot's house. Why was he begging them? What was going on? It sounds to me that there was something dangerous going on, because Lot says, I pray you. That's another word for saying, I beg you into your servant's house. And tarry, that means stay all night. Not stay for a little while. He wanted them out of the darkness. He did not want them roaming around the city. He said, tarry or stay all night and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. See, this is proof that the angels didn't come for Lot. He just wanted to keep them out of harm's way, because whatever was going on at night, he wanted to make sure they were good. And when the sun rose up, when ye shall rise up early, and then you can get up out of my house and go your way. It's safety during the day. But at night, it ain't safe. And they said, the two angels said, nay. Nay means no. In other words, we don't want your hospitality. In other words, we didn't come to hang out with you, Lot. But we, the two angels, will abide in the street all night. See, they were on a reconnaissance mission by God. They were there to check out and see if it's really as bad as it's been said. And he, Lot, he pressed upon them greatly. See? First, he prays that they will stay at his house. He begs or prays that the angel will stay at his house. And then he knew something was going on in the midnight hour, in the darkness of Sodom. And then he pressed upon them greatly. You know what it means when somebody presses upon you greatly? Let's stop here. This is proof. This is proof. This story of Sodom is proof that there was some shit going on in those streets at night. First, Lot prays that they will come and stay with him at least until the sun rises. He says, when the sun rises, you folks can go on your way. But I don't want you out there in the nighttime because there's some shit going on. Don't worry. I will tell you and I will teach you what was going on in Sodom at nighttime at that exact time. This is what your King James Bible don't teach you. But it's clear. The evidence is clear that something was going on in Sodom at the exact time that the two angels show up. And whatever it was so bad and so dangerous that Lot sat at the gate at the entrance of Sodom, and when he saw these strangers, these two men, these two angels, he prayed. He said, I pray that you all come with me. Hurry, come on. Stay all night. And when the sun come up, you can leave. But don't stay out here right now. See how the Bible's incomplete? There's a reason that Lot wants them to get out of the night air. There's a reason Lot doesn't want them in the street all night. But the Bible doesn't tell you that. That's why you have to read outside of the Bible and go back and read the histories of Sodom to get that piece of the puzzle. I'm going to give it to you. But clearly, the angels did not come to Sodom to save Lot or his family. Because according to Genesis 18, not even Abraham defended Lot as a good and hospitable and righteous man. According to Genesis 18, God says there was nobody in Sodom that was good. And nobody means nobody. Nobody means not even Lot and his wife and his children. None of them niggas was good. Else we would have heard about it in Genesis chapter 18. But here are these angels. First, Lot prays, i.e., begs that they come home with him to get them out of the streets at night. And secondly, after the angel says, no, but we will abide, we will stay in the streets all night, Lot a second time says to them, the Bible says Lot he pressed upon them greatly. He pressed upon them greatly to not stay in the streets of Sodom at night. This is further proof that the angels coming to Sodom, they didn't come to save Lot. They wasn't fucking with Lot. They didn't want to stay with him. They were on a mission from God to see what the hell was going on when the street lights came on, so to speak, when the sun went down. They didn't have nothing to do with Lot. Lot was considered among the unrighteous, according to Genesis 18. The two angels did not come to save Lot. And the proof is, the two angels tell Lot, we don't want to stay with you. We're going to stay in the street. Which means they didn't come for Lot to save Lot. But Lot knew something. He knew the impending danger that lie in the streets of Sodom in the nighttime hour. So Lot, a second time, the Bible says, he pressed greatly upon the two angels to get up out of these streets of Sodom, come to safety, is what he was saying. We're going to stop right about here. We're going to stop right about here. But what I want you to take away from this second part, two things. Abraham never mentions Lot as a righteous person in Sodom. Abraham was apparently, if you believe that Sodom and Gomorrah were strictly homosexual cities, then that would make Abraham the first LGBTQ ally and advocate. I know that's uncomfortable because Abraham is your man. Abraham started your Judaism. Abraham founded your Hebrewism. Abraham founded the Hebrew Israelites. Abraham was the father of the Israelites. Abraham is the eponymous ancestor to all of Christianity. Abraham is the eponymous ancestor to all of the Islamic world. But if you want to claim, if you're going to stand on your square that Sodom and Gomorrah was strictly a homosexual cities, then that would make Abraham the first LGBTQIA ally and advocate. That's what I want you to get. I didn't even mean to go into the story of Lot and all that, but that's okay. But you're starting to see that Genesis 18 goes down from 50 to 45 to 40 to 30 to 20 to 10. And no righteous people could be found in Sodom and Gomorrah, even though Abraham was having a conversation with God, claiming that maybe there are some righteous people. Yet Abraham never invokes, he never name drops his own nephew as being a resident of Sodom and being a righteous man. He doesn't do it. Which would tell me and should tell you that Lot was among the unrighteous. And to make things further clear, that when these two angels visit Sodom, they don't know who Lot is. They don't know Lot's name. They don't know who Lot is. They don't come to see Lot. Lot was just a looky-loo. Lot was just a rubbernecker at the gates of Sodom when the two angels came by the orders of God to check out and do a reconnaissance mission to see how wicked Sodom was. Lot just happened to be in position to intercept or to run interference on the two angels' mission. And so Lot would invite them into his home, and the two angels would look at this motherfucker. We don't know you. Nigga, we don't. You might take us home and poison us. You might take us into your house and have some men there to gang rape us. We heard about all of the booty stuff going on. We don't know you. So after the two angels look at each other, they simply say, nay or no. We will abide in the streets all night. We think we have a better chance of survival in the streets than at your house, bitch nigga. We don't know you. Because God told us there ain't nobody in this city righteous. Nobody includes you, Lot. You never heard it that way, did you? And then, because Lot, even though he was mentioned among the unrighteous in Genesis 18, Lot knew that these two men, these two strangers, had no business being in Sodom. I'm going to get to all of that. Lot knew what the angels didn't know. That they had no business as non-citizens of Sodom and Gomorrah being there. Lot knew some things that the angels didn't know what would happen if they stayed in the streets all night. Lot knew not only that they potentially might get their backs blown out, that the men of Sodom might perform homosexual acts upon the two angels. That's all you know. That's all you know about Sodom. But I'm going to teach you some other evils that Sodom had awaiting the strangers that broached the perimeter of Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot knew the dangers of being in the streets at night. Lot knew that there were some beds, in the streets. And these angels could be put on those beds and stretched. Or those angels could be put on those beds and made shortened and tied up and left there to rot and die. I'm gonna bring this information out as we go along. Lot knew that there was something going on in the city at that particular time, whereby the Bible says that Lot pressed upon them greatly to get the fuck out of the streets. What's so bad about hanging out all night in the streets? The very fact that Lot would pray that they come home with him, the very fact that Lot would press upon them greatly to get out of the streets, is proof positive that there was some activity going on in the streets of Sodom at night, and it wasn't nice. I said Lot, the Bible tells us, Genesis 19 and 5 says that Lot pressed upon the two angels greatly. In other words, he started shouting at the angels. He started getting indignant at the angels. He started begging the angels. He started telling them, I'm telling you, man, you go down there fucking around there, they got some shit for your ass. Come home with me to the safety of my home. Lot was aware that these were not citizens of Sodom and they were strangers. And as we get to talking about Sodom, you're going to realize that Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim and Zoar were they were a confederation of cities known collectively in the Bible as the cities of the plain. And these 5 cities did not allow or like strangers to broach the perimeters of their cities. If you were a stranger and you came there, God save you, because they had some shit for your ass. Come back. This is the end of part 2. We teaching Sodom and Gomorrah like you never heard it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace.